neighbors. Welcome to the Music Festivals Podcast. This is the show that helps you get to know music festivals, festival venues, and campgrounds before you go. I'm your host, Neighbor Nate, and I'm glad you're in the neighborhood. And welcome back, neighbors, to episode number 58 of the Music Festivals Podcast. This is the show that helps you get to know music festivals, festival venues, and campgrounds before you go. And as always, I am your host, Neighbor Nate. And today we have a recap episode. We are recapping the 21st edition of the Watermelon Pickers Festival held in Berryville, Virginia at the Clark County Ruritan Fairgrounds. And that was September 4th through the 6th. I had the chance to pull my trailer and get down there and really check out this amazing festival, albeit very small this year. But the festival's roots go way back into the 1960s, actually as the first Bluegrass Day event that was held at Watermelon Park, and that's a campground that is on the Shenandoah River. It actually is considered one of America's earliest dedicated bluegrass festivals, and the original festival at Watermelon Park went on for years but ended in 1979. That seems to be, according to everybody, the major thing that impacted this festival from going to be about 2,000 to 3,000 people to smaller numbers that it is today, the change of venue. So Shepherd's Ford Productions actually revived it in 2004 and moved it to the Clark County Ruritan Fairgrounds in Berryville, Virginia, because the venue, the Watermelon Park, had to be profitable. They had to basically, like, the way it was told to me, there were seasonal campers there that they would then have to kick out for 3 or 4 days to host the festival. And because of that, they were losing money and angering their residents. And so it totally makes sense why they would make the call to, end the festival there. So they moved it to the Clark County Ruritan Fairgrounds, which is also a great place to have a festival because any festivals at fairgrounds are super easy, right? But this festival has brought artists like Bill Monroe, the Osborne Brothers, Del McCurry, Billy Strings, Sam Bush, and even Bela Fleck over the years. It was under Shepherd's Ford for about 20 years, and then was entrusted in 2025 to Stacy Sinclair of SRSM Productions. And Stacy and I are, again, if you watch the show, we went to college together and didn't even know it. But the thing that really inspired me to go to Berryville and make the drive down there to check out this, albeit very small festival, was Stacy's passion for it and what she put on the line to keep this thing going. It's just a testament to how powerful these music festivals are and what they do for people, to the point where, people get involved and they're going to lay it on the line to keep these festivals going. And I think there's a big lesson there. So hats off to Stacy for picking up the ball and running with Watermelon Pickers Festival. It was a great trip, and I really think that you're going to enjoy this episode. This festival was also super special for me because it represents a milestone for Music Festivals Podcast. So at Watermelon Pickers, I was joined by Mark Stewart of Stay Fresh Media. He's out of Norfolk, Virginia, and here's how we met. We are coming at you live from Watermelon Pickers Festival in Berryville, Virginia. We're at the Clark County Ruritan Fairgrounds, and we just got done seeing Fireside Collective. This is my homie Mark Stewart. Welcome, man. Yeah, it's good to have you here.
I'm super happy to be here, Nate. This is the first time that I've ever met up with somebody from the internet.
Right? Not yet. Yeah.
Which is super cool. And it was, as a content creator, you know how much time and effort goes into your products and stuff like that. Yeah. So that when you have somebody who is a real person that kind of like connects with you on something that you're passionate about, it's pretty special. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So backstory for you all, basically this came out of, we went to 4848. Any of you who watched the 4848 documentary, a lot of the footage was his, right? And we didn't know each other at the time, but I was finishing the piece I was doing, and I was doing like the SEO title on it.
Yeah.
And I Googled it, and I'm like, oh fuck, somebody got there first. And so I watched it, and I'm like, holy shit, this is really good. Like, it was super informative, and it was totally the know before you go type of content, right? That I feel like I've almost like strayed away from a little bit, but like yours was like, if like, yeah, it was crazy, like how informational it was. And like, if you really want to go to 4848, you need to watch his shit because it was really good.
Well, thanks, Nate. That's
So,
very generous of you.
yeah, like how'd but you kind of just started doing festivals. You did primarily what, snowboarding and
Right. So, I mean, this summer is my first summer where I started filming. I ruptured my ACL during the middle of the season last year and didn't know it, kept riding and skating until the spring, and then I was immobilized because I needed surgery to fix it. And I had amassed like a whole bunch of footage from snowboarding, and I was like, I want to learn how to edit. I want to learn how to to do photos and film. And since I can't do my action sports, then I kind of like turn my full attention towards that.
Okay.
So that's what I've been working. I pretty much just been pointing my camera at anything that, like invokes a feeling or I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And I've been doing the festivals for like 4 or 5 years. So not like probably 3 or 4 a year.
Okay.
So.
Nice.
And that's and 4848 is one of the ones that I like, since I go snowboarding there, and then I made friends with all the homies that are up there. So it's like I'm going to a little mini family reunion with my homies when I go to 4848. So that's always fun.
One of the things I absolutely love about festivals is the ability to easily meet really interesting, fascinating people. If you let yourself, if you throw yourself in and you go for it. I happened to meet Johnny on Friday afternoon. Watermelon Pickers Festival did not disappoint in terms of like the folks that were there. So I happened to meet Johnny on Friday afternoon, and I completely got hooked as we sat down and began to talk about life. And he started sharing these stories with me. I also can't believe that on a media show, I actually get to say this. Here's Johnny. Music seems like it's a pretty big part of your life. You were mentioning that you've like produced some bands and stuff. What got you into all this?
The woman that I'm living with, 1990. I met her at a bar in San Francisco. She was playing in a blues band, and called Mark Allen and Gun Runners, and she was playing in a punk band at the time called the Gargoyles.
Okay.
And I was living up in the woods and going to school in Sonoma State. And anyway, I met her at a bar, and she invited me to come back down, and I came back down, and I ended up living in with her 2 weeks later. And she turned me on the whole music scene, introduced me. The whole San Francisco scene, is like, that's when grunge was starting in Seattle.
Yeah.
And there was a whole scene going on in San Francisco, which, I was kind of anti-grunge because our scene going on in San Francisco, but it was just a cool time.
Yeah.
And it was like the end of an era of San Francisco. I mean, our apartment was $800 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment, 2 blocks off Haight Street. Now you probably pay the minimum of $3,000.
Yeah. You said you were close to Haight-Ashbury too. So
yeah, I was 2 blocks. I lived right on the panhandle of Golden Gate. There's a panhandle that goes all the way downtown to San Francisco, all the way up to Golden Gate Park, and then Golden Gate Park is like, I don't know, 4 blocks wide.
Yeah.
It goes all the way to the ocean. It's bigger than Central Park in New York.
So like Haight-Ashbury's famous for clearly the Summer of Love, the Dead living there, and you were there during the 90s, right?
Yeah.
So
I went to the Grateful Dead shows.
Yeah, what was it like in the 90s there? Like,
It was cool. Like I say, it was kind of end of the era before it became .com. When the whole .com started in Seattle, and then jumped to San Francisco and all that, and just everything changed.
Yeah.
Rents went up. All these kids were making big bucks, working in a computer business or whatever. But it was just a cool time, cool scene, and I was there for Rodney King protest. I was there for the Gulf War protest. There was our friend wrote that song, Cordon Blondes. It's a friend of ours,
Okay.
Linda,
Yeah.
And
no shit.
that came out, and I was like, wow, what a great song. And everyone's playing it now.
That's cool. So when Johnny said that, I didn't know it at the time. I had to get home and actually look it up to see what he was referencing. but it's actually the song What's Up from Four Non Blondes, which was a 1992 song on their debut album Bigger, Better, Faster, More. The album was released on October 13th in 92, and What's Up actually became the band's most famous song, but that particular song was a single that was released in March of 1993. It is and was a pretty prophetic song back in the 90s. And unfortunately, I think in today's context, it still carries a lot of weight. So think about that for a second, right? But Johnny was a super interesting dude to talk to, and he's logged a lot of travel and lived in all over the place. And he's been to one festival that is absolutely on my radar, something that I've wanted to go to since I was in my early 20s when I worked with a guy who went. So I want you to listen to him talk about his first experience partying in the desert at Burning Man.
The year I went, my friends had built the biggest art installation, biggest art car there was at the time,
Okay.
which was the ship.
Okay, yeah.
I can't think of the name of the fucking thing, but I remember just getting on, taking some mushrooms, getting on that boat, and my friends were Extra Action Marching Band. They were a break off from the
Yeah.
Crash Worship.
Okay.
And we got on the ship and we went out and we crashed a party out in the playa, way out. We went to some art installation way out there, and the bottom of the ship drops off. Extra Action, you know, my friends, they all just get off and march off, and whoever passengers were riding on, we just get off and we crash this party. You know?
Yeah. From a pirate ship.
From a pirate ship that was built over the largest
On mushrooms, like.
largest city bus you can imagine.
Oh my God.
You couldn't even tell there was a bus.
Yeah.
It was like you were getting on
I
a
mean,
ship.
talk about making an entrance. Like,
Oh my
you
God.
know, that's badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got so into it, I said, hey, see you guys, I'm gonna stay out here. And then I had to get my way back all the way to my camp where my girlfriend was. I had left her asleep in the car.
Oh shit.
And it took me like 3 hours to walk.
Oh Lord.
You know, someone gave me some bad acid or whatever, and I was having cramps, and I was so scared to lay down because art cars are going all over the place.
Yeah.
People get run over by them
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
And so I would,
Yeah.
no, I finally made it back to, oh God. But anyway, it was cool.
Yeah.
Really cool experience.
Sounds like an experience.
Yeah.
Well, brother, you got some killer stories, dude.
Yeah.
Like seriously, I appreciate you talking with me and whatnot.
Well,
Yeah. Cheers, man. So just a bit later that afternoon, I happened to wander into a merchant tent that plainly just looked interesting. I tend to like old stuff and the energy I feel when I'm around antiques and objects that have, you know, had deep and long histories, have been around for a while, right? I think that there's stories in those things, right? Especially, you know, the older it is, and the people who purvey them also have really interesting stories as to why they do it. Steve was one of those people who combines his passion for antiques with a passion for art.
My name is Henry Stephen Higgins. I go by Steve
Okay.
because my father was Henry and so forth and so on. And I'm really tired of hearing the chorus to My Fair Lady.
Right, yeah.
I live in Herndon, Virginia. I've been married for 47 years. My son also helps me here. He's asleep in the back.
Yeah.
Whatever I can find, whatever that I can deal with, I put it in my art. Perfect example.
Yeah.
I was eating tuna fish one day,
Okay.
and so I made a flower out of
So you
it.
made a flower out of a tuna fish. So yeah, where did the idea come from to like you reclaim things and you have some antiques? You showed me this like,
Right.
squeeze box that is crazy.
Right.
But where did the idea come to reclaim old stuff and then?
Well,
turn
it
into
started about 25 years ago. We were getting siding put in our house, and my wife collected red glass, and she had her grandmother's collection and all. So it was about 200 years of collecting.
Yeah.
So we were putting siding in our house, and they went on the west side when they were supposed to be on the east side, and the entire collection hit the ground and broke into 1,000,000 trillion pieces.
Oh, wow.
My wife cried for 3 weeks. She wouldn't let me in the room. Every time I go in to get up the glass, she cried again and shut the door.
Yeah.
So she was at work one day. I went in, figured out what I could do, and I made one of those, one of the whirly twirlies, I
Yeah,
call them.
yeah.
And ever since then, I just like the whole concept of taking something that used to be into something that could be.
Yeah. And you said you've been doing this for 40 years?
Yep, I've been doing antiques for 40 years. I've been doing the crafts itself for about 25, 30 years.
Okay. So The funny thing I learned is that Steve is also part of the old guard at Watermelon Pickers Festival. He comes every year and has been coming since the rebirth of the festival. And he's kind of seen watermelon through its entire journey, right? And that journey has been over a couple decades. So it's really interesting to hear Steve talk about the festival. And then how many you've been coming to Watermelon Pickers Festival for quite a while too?
Yeah, I've been here since for 22 years.
22 years.
The very first year, I was helped my sister with the concession stand, and then they came to me and asked me, did I know any crafters? And so I was the very first crafter that they ever had. Me and a person that sold pottery.
Wow, that's cool. So how is the festival? I mean, I know it changed locations and everybody
Right.
talks about that. But what other traditions, what stayed the same, what's different as the things evolve?
Everything has stayed when it comes to the camaraderie and the relationships that you have with these people. I always tell my son that I'm not doing an antique show or a craft show or a festival. I'm going to a family reunion. These people act like my family, that we catch up. Jen has been with me for a very long time. She's has her own business, but we always meet here, and it's just like we always make sure we're next to each other because we got each other's back.
Yeah.
Just the whole feeling of just brotherly love, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's just, you feel it, like I said, you find out who's got married and who's had kids, and it's just a really great thing. And this got me thinking, have festivals replaced the family reunions of years past? I know growing up, even as a little kid, I used to go to family reunions in Columbus where you'd walk into an old church or whatever hall they rented, and there'd be 50, 60, 70 people there, right? And it doesn't seem like that happens all that often anymore, at least not for the people I know. The idea of family has changed over the years, right? High divorce rates, dysfunction, disagreements, even like smaller family units. People don't have as many kids anymore, right? All of these things are to blame. I think too, the advent of the internet and cell phones and social media gave us more visibility to greater numbers of people, right? And essentially now we have the power to choose and consider who we want to be our family, if you will, to coin that term, or not coin that term, but to reference that term. It was talking with Steve that I realized that, yeah, music festivals have the same type of power, right? In terms of that family reunion feel. What's interesting is that Mark actually reiterated this right before we had talked the previous night. What is it that music festivals do for you?
That's a good question. I think that the primary thing that I love about music festivals is because it represents a window of time to me where people can be good to each other and kind without really having a reason to. They just do it just because they want to and because they're here, and it like proves that we're capable of that, and like the whole, because like the rest of life is not like that.
Yeah.
So I'm a veteran. I spent a lot of time like using an aggressive state of mind to solve problems and stuff like that, and that's not healthy long term. And like I love the opposite of the opposite of that is the festival scene.
Yeah.
So like the polar opposite. It's not, I mean, even though it's like, so I had some of the tightest bonds with other service members like in those times, like, and I know I could trust them in that way, and so I felt supported. It's not, but the attitude of being able to be present and open around people that you don't, and vulnerable, that you don't have like a prearranged connection with, it I think is so precious, because it like really helps you to view other people as humans, not just as like NPCs in the background.
All right, so drop the mic. That last statement, NPCs in the background, that would hit me really hard. I don't know if you could see my reaction in the video. If you're not up on your video games, NPC stands for non-player character, right? Or essentially a computer-generated shell of a human being, right? And you see these people running around in Minecraft and whatnot, and like my son Max, when he's playing, he'll just go kill them because they're just NPCs, right? But there's this concept that I think applies at music festivals. We often experience a powerful sense of belonging, and that's because we're involved in something larger than ourselves, right? Very similar to like faith or religion, right? this is where George Herbert Mead's concept of the generalized other comes in. I remember learning about this in college. It was developed in the early 20th century, and it basically describes as the internalized voice of a community, right? So the collective attitude, values, shared values, expectations that we carry with us around, how people should behave, act, what the norms are, if you will, right? So in the context of a festival, it's not just about your own enjoyment or self-expression. It's also about how your actions ripple through the crowd, right? Or even ripple between the audience and the band, the audience and the performances, right? When you dance, when you're sharing food, standing in line at a food truck, chatting, helping a stranger set up camp, picking up litter around the campground, right? Joining a campground pick or a jam or something like that. You're actually tuning into the shared rhythm of a community. And I think that's what Mead was describing as it applies to festivals. So the generalized other is what essentially allows you to anticipate how others will respond and adjust to your behavior. And that's what keeps the vibe positive and inclusive. There's a shared set of expectations when people go in that everybody just follows on their own. They're not rules, they're almost like promises, right? So in other words, like, the generalized other helps turn thousands of individual festival goers into one single breathing, living community. And that's what everybody's talking about here. It's like a collective energy. It's kind of like shaped by everyone's contribution and awareness of the whole, right? It's really fascinating. And Mark intuitively gets this concept and he feels it when he comes to these things, but he goes farther to explore the why behind it and how that happens. And I think that he's really onto something here.
I think it's a combination of the environment that they happen in and the energy that the artists put into it.
Yeah.
And the willingness of the participants to receive it. So I think, like, I forgot like where I heard this, but it's basically like if you believe in a mystical solution, the closer that you are to it, like the more easily that you can get to it, the less efficacy it has for you.
Okay.
Because it's too easy for you to be like, no, it's not real. But when you have to work hard for something and you have to be deliberate about something,
Yeah.
like, so if you had to travel like hundreds of miles by foot to get to this thing and you thought it was a miracle, when you get there, there's a much higher chance that it is going to be a miracle for you than somebody who lives a day's walk from that.
Okay. Yeah.
Understand? So like the fact that people who come to music festivals have to put in a little bit of extra, like it's more effort. You have to put an investment in your experience, and so like that kind of like raises your belief in the experience, or your capacity to experience it, because you're sort of like manually like beating down your mind to be like, I'm taking this serious, this is real, I have faith in this can be something meaningful to me.
Yeah. You actually, wow, I've never heard anybody put it like that, but that's really interesting. You enter into it with the belief already in place.
Right, because when you do the work ahead of time to do it, you're like you're basically telling your subconscious like, this is real. Like you should expect something from this experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's kind of priming you for that experience in a certain sense.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think after I listened to it again, what Mark is pointing out is that people tend to buy into festivals. And what I mean is not just from a money ticket standpoint, but they buy in with their whole selves, right? They prepare for it, they plan for it, they travel for it. And in doing that, they earn their place in kind of the culture. Maybe this is why the camping festivals seem so much personal versus like city festivals when everybody's staying separately, right? Like you kind of earn your way onto a campground. You have to help each other and protect against the weather. And I think it's really interesting that Mark brings this up. So again, I asked Mark, why do you do this? Like, what do you hope to walk away with from being alongside all of these other people that become your neighbors as festivals?
The fundamental thing that I'm trying to do is to build like connection, like human connection with other people that have shared interests. Yeah. So like those super real people who are at festivals that I connect with, I feel the same way as, my riding buddies when I go snowboarding,
I definitely learned a lot, not only from shooting the fest with Mark, but also sitting with him and having some pretty deep and vulnerable conversations at the campsite after the stage lights are turned off, right? I think that's also what's valuable about festivals is this idea that people talk more, right? You have time. I came away from Watermelon Pickers with not only more understanding of the festival culture, which is really this ethnography that I'm on, but with a sincere desire to really protect these safe spaces. I don't think I realized that before. These festivals are safe spaces where human connections can develop and flourish as a result of that shared context, right? Like that understanding when you go into it. But I do think Steve actually puts it best, and it's kind of a call to action, that we all should consider.
Don't ever let this go away.
Yeah.
No matter what we have to do, I wish we were still at the river, but we're not. But it doesn't matter. It's a feeling of music and Americana and everything that's right. Just to don't let it go away.
Yeah.
No matter what you got to do.
That's amazing. Well, thank you very much, brother.
Thank you.
But neighbors, that's all we've got for today. Watermelon Pickers was a great time. I definitely will be going back next year. I'm incredibly proud of Stacy for what she's doing. I also want to give a shout out to Zach Burrows of Welsh Productions. These guys have been running sound for this festival for I believe 17 or 18 years now. And Zach was kind enough to let me invade his sound booth, and a really sharp guy who does great sound. The whole festival sounded awesome. So thanks to him as well. Special thanks to Stacy and all her team of volunteers. It was a great time. I also want to give special thanks to my homie Mark for spending the weekend with me and really not just buying into the vision of Music Festivals podcast, but giving me some new inspiration, right? Giving me some really interesting ideas. You're going to see more of him on Music Festivals podcast, particularly down at the Sunshine Hootenanny Festival in November. That's happening at the Florida Sand Music Ranch in Brooksville, Florida. He's going to join my brother Nick and I to help produce our live stream of that festival. And if you go ahead and Google the lineup, you're going to be really excited to see who's there. But look for more info on that festival in the coming weeks. We're going to have some plans to do some production in between the sets that I think you're going to be really interested into it. I think it's going to be a game changer for how festivals are streamed. So make sure that you go to the site, musicfestivalspodcast.com, and subscribe to the neighborhood newsletter so that you can get those announcements and figure out, what the rest of the schedule is for the year. It's a monthly newsletter. It's going to be coming out very soon. I'm a little bit behind on it, but again, you get news and updates on festivals. There's special features, discount codes from our affiliates that include Custom Made Casino, Outdoorsy.com, Inokim Electric Scooters, Melted Mind Designs, Cast Magic, CapCut, Opus Clip, and Hoem with the Hoem iSteady M7 phone gimbal for your phone so you can shoot great video at festivals. I also want to welcome Music Festival Podcast's newest partner, Eventany. Eventany was founded on the belief that managing large-scale festivals and events with hundreds of exhibitors, vendors, sponsors, and volunteers should not be stressful or burdensome. You can learn more at eventany.com, and we will have an episode coming up with their COO and founder very, very soon. I'm really looking forward to that because if you're a festival promoter out there, I've already had a demo of the software. Yeah, it makes total sense to me. What they're doing is pretty incredible. I come out of the CRM world, right? This is a big ass CRM for festivals that allows you to manage just about everything you need to manage. It's pretty cool. Next week, we are recapping Hookahville 61, a little bit out of order. I was trying to do that this week, but lots of stuff is happening. So that was at the J&M Ranch in Ansonia, Ohio, and it featured Glowstick, the Snosberries, Dustin Smith and the Daydreamers, the Giants, and this kid, Finney McKee, who you just have to see. Holy shit. Finney McKee's going to be something else. And then, of course, 3 nights of acoustic hookah, which was great. But make sure to tune in for that. Hookahville is always one of my favorite places on the planet. If you are listening to the audio podcast, first, thank you very much. Please rate the show on Spotify and Apple. That always helps. And then head on over to YouTube and immediately subscribe and make sure you hit the little bell button so you get the notifications. And that's how you're going to get all the videos, including all the festival documentaries, the full interviews that are coming out from Watermelon Pickers, because there's some stuff that I couldn't put in the show, but you got to check it out. And join the conversation with your neighbors in the comments on those videos or on the Music Festivals Podcast Facebook page. You can also find me on Instagram at Neighbor Nate Fests. That's Neighbor N8 Fests, or just at Nate Riggs. I go by that too. As always, I'm your host, Neighbor Nate, and I hope to see you at the next fest. Maybe we'll be neighbors. Bye.